In ancient history books and mysterious texts, there is a prophecy of a major sign preceding the end of the world. Red-haired man who will appear in a time of strife, igniting a conflict that will change the shape of the world as we know it. This description, which for centuries was merely ink on paper, has suddenly and forcefully returned in our current era. And this raises the question. Could Donald Trump, with his reddish-blond hair and controversial personality, be the one meant by this ancient prophecy? Is the similarity in descriptions just a strange coincidence, or is it a sign that no one has understood until now? In this video, we'll play the role of investigators. We will open the books of history and prophecy, compare the texts with reality, and examine the evidence step by step, to discover together the truth behind this theory that occupies the minds of many. This is not a fictional film, but an investigation into a mystery that extends from the distant past to our turbulent present. Alright, before we try to connect any dots, we must first understand, what do the original texts say about the character of the red-haired man? Al-Ashab, or the red-haired man, is a pivotal figure in Shia narrations about the signs of the end times. Sources like Gaybat al-Numani and Bihar al-Anwar describe him as a leader of sedition who appears in the Levant amid great political chaos. The word ashab in Arabic describes a white man whose hair has a reddish-blond tint. This physical description is the primary argument upon which some have built the theory connecting him to Trump. But the story is deeper than just hair color. The narrations add other details. In some, the ashab is described as an ilj, a word once used to refer to a strong man from among the non-Muslims. It is also mentioned that his movement is hostile to Islam and allied with its enemies. Most importantly, however, is the context of his appearance. Most reliable narrations agree that the ashab is one party in a three-way struggle for power in the Levant, alongside a figure called al-Abqa. According to these texts, the ashab will revolt from outside the capital, Damascus, possibly from the Jazira region of Syria, to fight al-Abqa. This conflict between them creates a vacuum that is exploited by a third, more powerful party, al-Sufyani, who defeats them both and seizes control of the Levant. So, we have three basic features to define the ashab: a physical description, reddish-blond, a potentially non-Muslim identity, ilj, and a political role in an internal conflict in Syria that ends with the victory of al-Sufyani. This is the map drawn by the ancient texts, and any comparison with a contemporary figure must adhere to these 3 points. And here is where things get interesting. Why do some believe that Donald Trump is the red-haired man? Let's look at their argument, point by point. Evidence 1, the physical appearance. This is the simplest and most direct argument. The color of Donald Trump's hair, often described as strawberry blonde, seems to match the meaning of the word ashab remarkably well. For supporters of the theory, this precise match in a rare description is no mere coincidence. Evidence 2, the identity and location. Here, things get more complex, and interpretations take a new turn. The original narrations place the events in the Levant. But contemporary interpreters of this theory focus on other narrations that speak of a dispute from the direction of the West, or the coming of the renegades of Rome. In their interpretation, the word West here does not mean Western Syria, but the Western civilization as a whole, and the United States specifically. They also focus on the description of the ilj, the strong non-Muslim man, a description that, from their perspective, perfectly fits an American president. With this interpretation, Trump becomes the ashab coming from the West, who interferes in the affairs of the Middle East and stirs up strife, but on a global stage, not just in Syria. Evidence 3, the policies and stances. Supporters of the theory consider this their strongest evidence. They argue that Trump's policies during his presidency, 2017 to 2021, perfectly align with the role of the ashab, who is hostile to a specific axis in the region. They cite his withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal, his moving of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, and his strong support for Israel. They believe that the strife the Ashab incites is not just a local military battle, but the destabilization of the entire Middle East, which is what Trump did with his policies. When you put this evidence together, the image of Trump the Ashab begins to emerge, an image that seems convincing at first glance. But does this image hold up to scrutiny? To be fair, we must listen to the voice of reason and logic, which urges us to pause. There are very strong reasons to suspect that linking Trump to the Ashab is nothing more than political projection. First, the explicit geographical contradiction. The weakest point in this theory is its complete disregard for the clear texts that specify the location of the conflict in the Levant. Reputable narrations state that the conflict between the Ashab, the Abqa, and the Sufayani is an internal conflict in Syria. The idea of twisting the meaning of the West to apply to an American president living thousands of miles away is a forced interpretation that ignores the clear context of the narrations. Second, the phenomenon of political projection. Throughout history, whenever a powerful leader or a major event has appeared, people have rushed to search ancient prophecies for anything that aligns with it. This phenomenon is called eisegesis, an attempt to give religious meaning to political events. The problem is that these projections change as events and leaders change. Linking Trump to the Ashab may be nothing more than the latest episode in a long series of such attempts. Third, the lack of real-world evidence. Even if we ignore all of the above, the sequence of events predicted by the narrations has not happened. Speculations that linked Trump's potential victory in 2024 and his return to the White House in 2025 with radical changes in Syria did not come to pass. As of early 2026, Trump is no longer president, and more importantly, the three-way conflict between the Ashab, the Abqa, and the Sufayani has not occurred in the Levant as described. The claim that Trump is the Ashab is a leap of faith whose premises and results have not materialized. Fourth, the weakness of many narrations. Many of the hadiths related to end-of-times figures and their fine details are disputed among scholars in terms of their authenticity, and many are considered to have a weak chain of transmission. Building an entire theory around a contemporary figure based on ambiguous descriptions from unconfirmed narrations is like building a castle on sand. When we combine these points, we find that the Trump is the Ashab argument appears extremely flimsy. It is a selective theory, taking what it likes, like hair color, and ignoring or reinterpreting what doesn't fit, like the geographical location. So, where does the truth lie after all this? On one hand, we have a startlingly superficial similarity in some descriptions and policies. On the other hand, we have fundamental contradictions with the core texts, a methodology based on projection, and a complete lack of any factual evidence. Perhaps the truth is not in a literal match. Trump may not be the Ashab himself, but perhaps his character and policies are an embodiment of a phenomenon the prophecies warned against, the phenomenon of a powerful Western leader who intervenes in the region's affairs, stirs up divisions, and paves the way for greater events. In the end, knowledge of the unseen remains with God alone. And these texts, whether authentic or not, were not given to us to judge people, but to draw lessons from them and understand how events unfold in the world. And now the question is for you, after hearing all this evidence, do you think the connection between the red-haired man and Trump is just a historical coincidence, or is it a sign with a deeper meaning? Share your opinions in the comments. Your discussion enriches the topic and reveals new perspectives.